Hello, welcome. I'm Andreas, your tech-curious web designer. In this tutorial, we will integrate social logins to a Django application with the social accounts module from Django's Allauth package. We will see how we can add Google, Github, X, which is formerly Twitter, and Facebook as logging options to your application. But before we get started, please like this video, subscribe to this channel, and click the bell icon if you like this content. This helps me to grow this channel and to reach more aspiring web developers. And if you want to support me, you can subscribe to my Patreon page, link is in the description below, and get access to exclusive content. I'm a stay-at-home dad of 2 and every little helps. Thank you so much. Okay, and now without further ado, let's dive in. So what is OAuth? OAuth stands for Open Authorization and is a framework which allows an application or website to access basic information from a service you trust, the most popular being Google, so you can log in without the need to create and remember a password for a random site. Let's see how the OAuth flow looks like. The user clicks on a sign-in button. This button then sends an authorization request, which includes the client ID and secret to the OAuth provider, in this example Google. Google sends then the user a consent screen where he logs into the Google account and approves the request. After the permission was granted, Google redirects the user to a callback URI, which includes Google's authorization code. The web app then sends its API keys, these are the client ID and secret, callback URI and authorization codes back to Google. Google then checks if all the information are valid and provides an access token to the web app. With this access token, the web app can make API requests on behalf of the user and can sign the user in to the site. Now, when the web app receives the token, the user is technically not authenticated yet. The web app only has permission to access the user's data from Google, and we would need to manually verify and sign in the user. Luckily, there exists an extension to the OAuth framework called OpenID Connect, which also authenticates the user and logs them in. Let's have a quick comparison between OAuth and the OpenID Connect protocol. Most providers use OAuth 2.0. A simpler and more flexible framework than OAuth 1. While OAuth is a framework, OpenID is an extension and built as identity layer on top of it. OAuth deals with authorization, while OpenID authenticates the user. With OAuth, we get access to the user's data. OpenID verifies the user and automatically logs them in. OAuth uses an access token, while OpenID uses an ID token, which is called JSON Web Token, short JWT. And while almost all providers that share APIs with customers offer OAuth, only a handful currently support OpenID Connect, including Google, Apple, and Microsoft. That's why we will see some differences when adding different sign-in options to the site. OAuth and OpenID are relatively new technologies, and their functionalities may evolve over time. So some aspects I explained in this tutorial may work differently in the future, so it's always a good idea to stay updated with new releases. Okay, with this basic overview in place, let's get started. So here I'm inside my editor Visual Studio Code and I've created a folder Social Login. In here I will install now a bare-bone Django application, which has the basic Allauth package, which deals with the normal login and sign-up of users already pre-installed. And to get this project, you can go to my GitHub repository at github.com/ndjut/django-starter. These are the files and folders for this project. If you're interested to learn how I built this Django Starter project, you can click on the video tutorial link here. And to install it, I copy this command here. Open a new terminal. And paste it in here. Then I create my virtual environment with Python 3-m venv venv. activate the environment with source -bin-activate. Then we first upgrade pip and install the packages for this application from the requirements.txt file. Then I migrate to the database with python manage-to-py-migrate. Next, I create the admin user with python manage-to-py-create superuser. And start the server with python manage-to-py-run server. Okay, with this we have now our Django Starter project up and running. Let's check it out. I'm going to localhost colon 8000. And here we have our new Django project. I quickly also change the title of this project. So I'm going to templates, includes, header.html. And I call this website Awesome Django App. Okay, save this file. And there we go. Okay, now let's click Login. And on this page, we include now our social login buttons. Okay, we can close this file. Now I'm going to my users app. And here we have the templates folder. And here I create a new file, social_logins.html. This file will have the code for the different sign-in buttons. And you can grab this code from my GitHub repository at github.com/ndjut/social-logins. Here we click buttons.html. I copy this code and paste in here. We have a Facebook button, a X, a GitHub and a Google one. Okay, save this file. Now we include this file in our login and sign up page. So we're going to the main templates folder, here to the accounts folder. Then here we have login.html. This file comes from the Allauth package and we're going to modify it. Here at the bottom we have already the section if social accounts are enabled. These are the default buttons from Allauth, but I will add my own buttons here instead. So I'm getting rid of this section here and include here the social-logins.html file. Okay, save this file. And the same with the signup.html. Alright, save this file and let's check it out. I refresh the page. And here we have now 4 social login buttons: Google, GitHub, X and Facebook. Okay, let's start with the first one, the sign in with Google. As first we need to install the social login extension from the Allauth package. For the documentation we go to docs.allauth.org. The project I'm using has the basic Allauth package already installed. And to integrate social accounts, we go here to the Social Accounts tab. And with this command, we install additional packages which we need for the social accounts logins. So I copy this line. Shut down the server with Ctrl+C and run this command. As we can see, it installed a bunch of packages here, including the request package, byjwt, which is the JSON Web Token package for Python, as well as the cryptography package. Then we add social accounts also to our installed apps. So I'm going to my core folder, to settings.py. So here in installed apps, I add here the allauth.social account app. Okay, save this file, and let's do the migration now. Python manage-to-py migrate. And we added now the tables for the social account in the database. Now we add Google as our social login provider to the list. Next, we add here the configurations for the social account providers. And the bare minimum we need is a client ID and the secret. But there are a couple of more configurations we can add here, and we will see that later. Now, these configurations we can also add in the admin interface. However, it is more secure to have them here in the settings.py file and add the values as environment variables. And to create environment variables, I use the package Django-environ. Let's install it. Alright. Then I import the env class, instantiate it, and read from the env file. Let's create this env file now, so I'm going to the core folder. Here create this file with .env. And here create my first variable, OAuth Google Client ID. And the second we need is the OAuth Google secret. And in the settings.py file, we include here now the environment variables. Alright, save this file. And now we need to go to Google to create this OAuth client and get the credentials. And on Google we go to console.cloud.google.com. So here we have already a project open. This is from my live Django site, Awesome Pics. And to create a new project, I click here on New Project. Then I give it a project name. Mine is Awesome Django App. Then I select it. We can see we're now in this new project. Then I go here to APIs and services. Then here first we have to create our OAuth consent screen. So this is the screen people see when they log in with Google. So I click here Get Started. Here add the app name. This is the name users will see on the consent screen. Add the email. Then for audience, I select external. Add a contact email. And agree to Google's API policy. Okay, next we click on branding. Here we can add an app logo. Add the app domain. This is information the user will see on the consent screen. For now, we can just add here a dummy website, privacy policy link, and terms of service. Then add a domain. This is the website URL without HTTPS. And click Save. Okay. Then audience we don't really need. This is just to set up test users. But clients is where we actually add the client and get our credentials. So here create a new client. I choose the application type. In our case it's web application. Then we add a name for the client. This is just for internal use. And then another very important setting is the redirect URI. So this is the endpoint which makes sure that the authorization code is sent to the correct application. And this is the structure for the callback URI when working with Django Allauth. We start with the website URL. If we test it locally, we need to add here localhost :1000 /accounts / then the provider, in this case Google, /login /callback. Okay. And then we click Create. And with that, our client is created. I click on the link here. And here we have the information for the client ID and the secret. So I copy the string here. and paste it in here. And the same for the secret. Okay, save this file. And as final step, we're adding the link to the sign-in button. So I'm going back to the social logins.html file. Here we have Google. And here I'm adding the provider login URL link and specify here the provider. We also need to load the social account library to this page. So at the very top here, I add load social account. Okay, save this file. Let's spin up the server with Python manage.py run server. And let's check it out. I refresh the page. I click on sign in with Google. Then we get this page telling us that we are about to sign in using a third-party account. This page is here for transparency. However, we can also skip this step and go straight to Google. Let's add this configuration. So I'm going back to the settings.py file. Then at the very bottom here, I add social account login on get and set it to true. Okay, save this file. Let's check it out again. So I'm going back. Click again, sign in with Google. And this time I got redirected straight to Google. Here I choose my account. And this is now the consent screen. So I click continue here. And there we go. I've signed in using Google now. As we can see, Django used my first name provided by Google as the username, but we can change that. For this, I'm going to the settings and choose the username I prefer, if available. Great. So we got straight logged in. However, like in the normal sign-up, I would like to redirect the user to an onboarding page first to fill out additional profile information. Let's implement this also for the social logins. For this, we utilize an adapter, which allows to modify existing behaviors of a function. So I'm going to my users folder, add a new file, adapters.py. I'm creating here a custom account adapter, which inherits from the default account adapter from the Allauth package. And then I'm adding here this getSignup redirect URL method. This method redirects the user on sign up to a profile onboarding page. Okay, save this file. Then we have to add this adapter to our settings.py file. And now let's check it out. So I delete this account again. And try again. Sign in with Google. And as we can see, we got redirected straight to this onboarding page, skipping the consent screen because Google has already verified the user's consent for this website previously and does not need to ask again. However, we can force Google to show the consent screen every time if we want to. So here in the Google configuration, we can, for example, add also a scope where I can define the information I want to receive, for example, profile information like name and profile image, or the email. Profile and email are the default scope for Google. In the authorization parameters, we can define additional parameters, such as the access type, online meaning the user needs to be online to get the access token. When set to offline, Google is sending also a refresh token, which is stored in a database, which locks the user automatically in after the access token expires, normally after an hour. This is very useful for long-term user sessions. And then we have prompt set to consent. This prompts the consent screen every time the user signs in with Google. Okay, save this file and let's test it out. So I'm deleting this account again. Log in. sign in with Google. Now we get this screen again to choose the Google account. And also the consent screen. Great. And now I got redirected to the onboarding page. Nice. Here I can select a display name. And again, if I don't like the username, I can choose a different one. And as we can see, this email address here is automatically verified when signing in with Google. This is because Google is using OpenID Connect and already verified the user's email, and Django Allauth trusts Google's verification. Alright, this is the sign-up process for a new user. Let's test this when connecting a social account to an already existing user. So I delete this account now and sign up normally. Add here my email address, username and password and sign up. Then I complete here my profile and submit. Okay, let's log out. And sign in with Google. And this time we are greeted with this sign up page here, because Allauth tries to create a new account with the email from Google. However, the email exists already. By default, Allauth does not automatically link a social account to an existing password-based account, but we can fix this with a configuration. So with the social account auto sign up set to true, the user will get automatically signed in. Let's add a few more configurations. The email has to be unique for each account. With this configuration, we confirm that we trust that the email is valid and authenticated. And with AutoConnect, we create a social account object in the database. With this object, Django remembers that there's a link between the user's account and the social account provider. And by setting email verification to none, we are saying there is no need to verify the email again if it has already been verified. Alright, let's save this file. And let's test again. So I click on login again, sign in with Google, choose the account, continue, and great, we are logged into the account now. But as we can see, the email was not set to verified automatically with the social login. We still need to do this manually. We can do this again with the adapter. This time I use a social account adapter, which inherits from the default social account adapter class. Let's also import this adapter. And here I'm modifying the pre-social login method, which is called right before the user logs in with a social login. We have here the social login object, which is created during the authentication process and may contain information about the login process, like the user or the social account. Then with the social login object, we get the email associated with it, if there is one. Then first we check if there is actually an email provided, and if not, we exit the function with an empty return statement. Then we check if a social login exists, meaning we check if the user is already linked with a social account in the database. And if it exists, our user is the social login.user. And with the user, we can retrieve the email address if it already exists, or otherwise create it. Let's import email address. And then we check if the email address is verified. And if it's not verified, we set verify to true and save the email address object. Okay. So with this method, we set verified on the email to true for an existing user when he signs in with the provider. As we have seen, when creating a new account with Google, the email is verified automatically. If you want that the email is verified also with other social login providers which do not use the OpenID Connect, we can do this manually. So this save user method is called when a new account is created through a social account provider. With this we call the save user method of the parent class and set it to the user. Then email in this case is user.email, and then we can just copy and paste the lines from before to set verified to true. And then we return the user. Obviously, when verifying the email address automatically like this, we assume that we trust the provider to have verified the user's email address on their side. Okay, save this file. And then we add this social account adapter to the settings. Like this. Okay, save this file. And let's test this. So I'm logging out. And log in again. Sign in with Google. And as we can see here, our email address is now verified. Nice.
Nice.
Let's have a look now how this looks like in the admin interface. So here in the users, we can see we have the admin user and Andy Judd as the user. And under social accounts, we see that this user is linked up with Google as social account provider. And the email address got verified. But as we can notice on the user account, the original password got removed when linking to a social account. This is a security measure to make sure the owner of the email address owns also the account. The owner of the account can set up a new password at any time with the forgot password link. Alright, with this we finished the OAuth setup for Google. Let's look at the other providers now. As next, let's add the sign-in with GitHub. First we add GitHub as our social account provider to the installed apps. Then we add the configurations. Here again we have the client ID and the secret, which we will add in our environment variables. And we also have the consent prompt. Each provider can have different parameters here, so it's best to check the documentation. Okay, save this file. Then let's go to our env file. And add here the OAuth credentials for GitHub. I'm going to my GitHub profile. Here I'm going to developer settings. Then here we find OAuth apps. I created already one for my Awesome Picks website. Let's add a new app. Then application name, homepage URL. Then here we add the callback URI, this time with accounts/GitHub. And we have the option here to click enable device flow. This is used for devices without a browser, for example smart TVs. So we can also leave this unchecked. And then we register application. And here we can see the client ID. So I copy this code and add it here. And then we generate a secret. Let's copy the string and add it in here. Okay, save this file. Then we can upload again a logo. We can select the background color. And the rest we have already filled out. Okay, update application. Okay, and that's it. Now finally, we add the GitHub link to the page. So I'm going back to my social logins.html file. Here to GitHub. And set the provider login URL to GitHub. Okay, save this file. And start up the server. refresh the page. Now we click Sign in with GitHub. We get here the consent screen to grant permission to access user data on GitHub. And we can see we are logged in now. Great. Let's check quickly the admin interface. We go to social accounts. And as we can see here, we got a new social connection created with GitHub. Great. Okay, next one, let's sign in with X. I'm going back to settings, to my installed apps. Here I add Twitter. As of this recording, X is still using Twitter as the handle and is still using OAuth version 1 to request users' email address. The OAuth 2.0 framework already exists, however, it doesn't give us the user's email, which we require for signing in to our application. Then we add the Twitter configurations. We have here only client ID and secret. Okay, let's save this file. Let's go to the env file and add the OAuth credentials for Twitter. For this I'm going to developer.x.com. Here I'm going to the developer portal. Then here in the dashboard I create a new project. Project name. Here select a use case. A project description. So the project is created, now we create the app. Again, app name. And then we receive here the API key and the API secret. So this is our client ID. I copy the string and paste it in here. And the secret. Okay, save this file. The Para token is used for the OAuth 2.0 authentication to authorize API requests. However, we don't use this. And we can just click App Settings. In here we can add an app icon. And then save. And to add the callback URI, we click here on Setup. Here we can set the app permissions. For example, the web app is only allowed to read the user's profile information. And important for our sign-in is to click Request email from users. So these are OAuth 1 settings. The one below, type of app, is for OAuth 2. Here we can click Web App. And here we add the URLs. First, the callback URI with accounts/Twitter. Then we also add the website, terms of service link, and the privacy policy link. Okay, then save. And with that, Twitter is set up. As final step, we add the link to the sign-in button. So here we have X. And add the provider login URL for Twitter. Okay, save this file. Let's spin up the server. And let's check it out. I refresh the page. Click Sign in with X. I authorize the app. But again, I got redirected to the sign up page here. This time the reason is that we're using OAuth 1 with Twitter and some configurations don't work. So let's manually link the user with the social account. So I'm going back to my adapters. So in my pre-social method here, I add the condition here if the social login doesn't exist. Meaning there is no connection established yet between the existing user and the social account. Then I get the existing user in the database through the email we got. Let's import the user model. and create an instance. Then, if this user exists, I create a connection between the social login object and this user. Okay, save this file and let's check it out. So I click again login, sign in with X, and there we go. I signed in now successfully. Okay, and as last one, let's add sign in with Facebook. Facebook has the strictest rules out of the rest, because in order for the social login to work, we need to have a business registered and verified on Facebook and complete an app review process, which the other providers don't require. However, we can still test the sign in with Facebook locally. Let's get to it. I'm going back to the settings. Add here Facebook. Then in Facebook configurations. Here to get the consent prompt, we set auth type to re-authenticate. Okay, save this file. Now let's add the environment variables. Let's head over to Facebook. So on Facebook, I go to developers.facebook.com. Here I click on My Apps. Then I create an app. App name. Then we have a couple of use cases here. If we have already set up a business on Facebook, we can choose this option here, authenticate and request data from users with Facebook login. But I will choose other for testing it locally. And then next. Here I choose consumers. Business portfolio here is set to optional. And then we click create app. On this page we go to app settings. Click here on basic. And here we got the app ID and app secret. Let's copy them to our environment variables. Okay, save this file. Let's finish the setup. So we add here the app domain, example.com, then privacy policy URL, the terms of service, a user data deletion URL, select a category, and upload a logo. For live application, we need also to verify the business and supply data protection information. And finally, at the very bottom here, I add the platform. We select website and add the site URL. And then save changes. Alright, and that's it. We don't have to add a callback URI when the app mode is set to development. Finally, let's add the sign-in link. So back to sociallogins.html. Here we have Facebook. Add the provider login URL for Facebook. And spin up the server. Okay, let's test it. I refresh the page. Sign in with Facebook. Add the Facebook password. Here we have the Facebook consent prompt in development mode. And now we signed in with Facebook. Nice. Let's have a quick peek at the admin interface again. I go to social accounts. And we can see we have created a social connection to all 4 providers now. Awesome. Alright, and this is all for this tutorial. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this content, give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to this channel, and click the bell icon not to miss the next one. I hope to see you soon. Until then, stay curious my friends, and bye bye for now.